Okay, good afternoon. Today we are going to talk about code switching and code mixing. This is our second study group, and here are my classmates Alan Aimando Velasco and Daniel Cano, and me, Eduardo Telles. Um, well, here we have the first slide, code switching and code mixing. What is the topic that we are going to talk about today? And as we know, code switching, that is the topic which are going to start, is this change that bilingual or multilingual people used to tend to make during some conversations. They tend to switch to one language to another, depending on a lot of factors and some situations that we are going to discuss next. So, first of all, on the lecture, the author talks about two situations in which people who speaks more than one language change its personality. Um, in this case, the author says that they made a study in which they produce, they asked to Japanese people who speak English that a lot of them used to express in a better way their emotions in 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 one language, in their dominant language, to be specific. So the question is, when he uses a different language and when the environment requires it, which one do you consider that is the most accurate or common? Daniel Cano, would you like to discuss about it?
Sure. Well, I think that I obviously the most common is when the environment requires you to change your language. Talking about this example that you gave about Japanese people talking in English. Well, obviously, if you are taking classes of this language, it's obvious that you're going to change your language to English, sorry. And also, maybe if you are going to make like this kind of programs, exchange programs that we have, for example, all of we know that uh, we need to take classes in English, even if the country, if you go to Spain, if you go to Germany, or if you go to any other country that doesn't have English as its official language, all the classes that we're going to take are in English because it's like the common language that all of we have. So I think that in this part, uh, because of English, it is the most common language that has the. I think that is the number one that has non-native speakers amount. So the environment requires that we should speak English in several situations.
Okay, well, that's right. I remember that the most spoken language is Chinese, but it's the most spoken language because Chinese people are a lot there. Just Chinese people are like the 30% of the population, of the global population, like most of them. But yes, and in this case, English is one of the is the most spoken language with not non-native speakers. So Alan, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm agree with the things that my classmates just say because uh, let's imagine because when we use a different language, we only produce the sounds, but the environment, we depend on the environment. I'm going to explain this. For example, if we are in a reunion, in a meeting with, let's say, Italian people, we produce uh, the language if we know Italian, but we don't change personality. We just spoke. But the environment in, let's say, Italian culture, for example, they make a lot of gestures. So you need to change to that, even if you are not used to. So the environment is the most common change when we change personality, when we speak a different language. I don't know, what do you think about this?
Well, personally, in my experience, speaking and communicating with two languages, which are Spanish and in English, I don't think that I changed personality. I just changed just switch the code that I'm talking with that I'm talking. I think that the personality is the same, and I have to change it because the environment, as we consider, because there are some places in which you have to talk in English, other you have to talk in Spanish or in other language, depending on which language do you speak. But I think that, in my opinion, we change this code when the environment requires it. Okay, so we have the next. Um, well, a friend of mine once told me that he had a friend that was married with a Korean woman. He told me, my friend told me that this person met her wife in South Korea in a exchange program in university, and he told me that this person is spoke Spanish, English, and he learns Korean there. But for example, he gave me this example. He told me that when they discuss about something, they this person spoke spoke in Spanish, but the communication in other situation with his wife was in English or even in Korean, but at the moment of express feelings and like have these little fragments that a couple have, he uses his dominant language, his native language, to express better in a better way their feelings. So Mind says that bilingual express their emotions in their first language, which is usually the language of their parents. So what do you think about this statement, Aimando?
Okay, it could sound like a myth, but in some occasions it could be real. Let's take the example you told us. Let's imagine if we are in a relationship with a girl or whatever, and she's Japanese, Italian, French, and in a fight, of course, we need to express our emotion, and not only in a fight, in other kind of situations. But speaking of emotions, we want to just get it out. We don't think about it in the other language. Uh, in in the at the moment, we just think spontaneously, and of course, we are going to talk with our first language. So I think this is a myth, but it's a half and a half. You know, some in some rare occasions, it could happen, depending, of course, in the relationship you are with the other person. Uh, maybe if you are closer or close enough to discuss in this way where anyone won't understand each other, but the feeling or the emotion is right there.
Okay, good. That's a good appreciation. I think the same that we tend to talk in a more spontaneous way, and we just want to express ourselves. So, what do you think about Daniel?
That that we have like a neural disconnection when we are having like a strong conversation, um, or we are having like strong emotions in our mind, in our head, and as Armando said before, Armando sorry said before, I think that that he's right, that we just want to let emotions go out, and well, we are like more familiarized with our native language. Also, I think that it depends on how deep is the language, our second language, uh, on our minds, because maybe if we are, I don't know, living in another country, an English country, it could happen that now we have internalized this second language as the same level of our mother tongue. And it could happen that, okay, now we are having a discussion and I can express my emotions in English because I'm used to speak 24/7 English. That's one side. The other thing that the statement says that is usually the language of their parents, I think that it depends on which language we are talking about, because here in Mexico, talking like more cultural things, uh, it's happening that we have like the languages of certain places, like subsidies and that, and those languages, and parents are saying like, okay, you must know Spanish, so forget our language and focus on learning Spanish because it's going to give you more opportunities. It is the most spoken language in Mexico because I want you to grow in another city or in a big city. So this is, I think that we have to look which language we are talking about and what's the cultural background of the people, because we have these people that lives in communities that they are like, okay, forget our language, our language that we are spoken like centuries, and focus on learn Spanish. So yeah, I think that the myth is like 50% real and 50% real.
Okay, I have some other opinion about this, and I think that it's depending on the situation in which the bilingual or multilingual person is, because, for example, I don't have any experience being in a country that speak another language from Spanish, but I think, but for example, Spanish here in Mexico, we tend to use to modify the lexical aspect of the language, and we used to say like we used to say words like chiquitito or que te pasa in this case, but we tend to pronounce, to have a different accent. And this happens with other language. For example, in Italian, I know that Italian people use a lot their hands to express some to express emotions, to communicate. It's a very communicative language without the hands, a very gesticular language. I mean, so I think that it depends on which language is your first language, and in the situation in which you are, because I don't think that is the same that if you are in an English speaking country and your first language is Spanish, that you are going to, even if you have a lot of years living there, I don't think that you are going to use English to express angry or express a lot of happiness. But I think that we could we could have like these opinions because it's a myth, and we don't have like any proof of that. So the next topic is code mixing. This is the other topic that I want us to talk about. Muisken describes code mixing as as all the cases in which the elements of lexicon and grammatically are in a same sentence without altering the message of the sentence. For example, like 1 year ago, I was in Facebook, and I found a lot of this text that says, en ese momento, when publican un meme in English and español, but you eres bilingüe and expert in memes, and you puedes entender two idiomas al mismo tiempo. In this case, when I saw it the first time, I said, oh my God, this is so funny. I can understand all the things, but I didn't know about this phenomenon that is implicit in this meme, as you can see. And this is the perfect example because, as you can see, there are two languages in the same in the same sentences, and it doesn't it doesn't change the message that these sentences wants to express. So we have, according to Kim, some factors that cause people to use code mixing are the following: bilingualism, speaker and parent speaking, social community, situation, vocabulary, and prestige. So, Aimando, what, what do you think that are the factors that have more impact in this practice?
Okay, from my point of view, I think that the social community has a lot of impact. For example, in the US, there are like this community that is half Mexican, half American, so they grew up with both languages. In some situations, they tend to speak both languages, and they need to speak both languages. So in many situations, they tend to combine both. And also, I think that the vocabulary also has a lot of relation with this because maybe they forgot like a word, a phrase, and they relate that phrase to the other language. Let's see, if I forgot a word in English, I will relate it with Spanish, and I will say that word in that language. So I think that these two characteristics are have more impact from my point of view, but I don't know about you.
Well, I think something similar to you because the social community affects a lot. For example, I think that it was you that said that in school we have to use English because of bachelor, and this is a specific social community in which are getting together, and we have to use it because it's part of our bachelor, and we have to be able to communicate in this language, and also the vocabulary, because as you said, um at first I have to say, at first I have to say that I thought that people who tend to forget how to say a word in the Spanish or in their first language are people. There are people that oh my God, I'm so genius in this language that I forgot the language that I learned first. But this happens. It could happen to me, and that's like oh my God, the reality is that you have to do this mixing code to in order to communicate better with the people that you are talking. So what is your opinion about this, Daniel? Please, please, Daniel, can you um get more closer to your microphone, because I don't listen to you
Can you listen to me better?
a little. Can you uh get a little more closer?
Where's the microphone? You, Alan, you can listen to me well.
Sorry.
Alan, can you listen to me well? Because I don't know if it's your.
Well, I can listen you now, but it's like some echoes there.
Okay, and this is better? Or
Yeah,
is worse?
much better, much better.
Okay, good. So, let me come back. Okay, I strongly agree with you because I thought the same that there are people like, come on, how can you forget this word in Spanish if you're native? But when the first time that it happens to you, you said like, okay, I think that now I am that one that I hate. So I think that the situation and also the vocabulary depends a lot because when you're like us studying ELT, we are like acquiring more vocabulary specified in some cases. In teaching, for example, we have a broad vocabulary, but in English, not in Spanish. So I think that it's better for us to, I don't know, I don't know, maybe lesson plan rather than planeación, for example. Okay, so that's one, the vocabulary, and also, well, I think that bilingualism it's like the mother of all of this because it's not only a factor, it's also the thing that enable us to make the code mixing, because if we are not bilingual, at least we cannot use the other factors. We can have the situation, we can have the social community, but if we are not bilingual, it doesn't matter because we cannot speak both languages. So yeah, I think that bilingualism and vocabulary are like the most important.
Well, I agree with you, and I think also we have to talk. Also, I think that we have to talk about the thing, the prestige, and I don't think that it's too important because it is related with the social community. I mean, you tend to, even I think that prestige is more related with switching code than mixing code, because you tend to use the other language in a specific social communities to show that, oh, I speak English or I speak another language in order to impress other people. Okay, and finally, um in the text, Savile, Troik, and Hoffman told some reasons of why people switch and mix codes. What do you think about this? What do you consider that are the most, like the most, that has more influence in this phenomenon? Aimando.
Okay, so I read the reasons, and there are like two that catch my attention. It's related with the last question with the vocabulary, because it says that one reason that people tend to switch and mix is because we forget some words, as we mentioned before. So this is like the main problem, that we forgot a word, a phrase, and we need to relate it with the other language we know. But also another reason that I read was the one that says that we switch or mix the code just because we don't want to other people to listen to us. I don't remember really the name, but it's kind of interesting because it really happened. For example, if we are talking with our friends in Spanish, and a person who is uh, not from our circle, and we don't want that person to know what we are talking about, we change the language. So I mean, in some cases it work, but it's not common, but it happened.
Okay, that's a good appreciation. What do you think about it, Daniel?
I'll go with the same, with to exclude other people when this comment that we want to say it's only intended for this group, because I think that in the moment that we are, most people, well, not maybe not most people, but there are a lot of people that knows English, that maybe they cannot speak, but they can understand it, because with this globalization we are involved in music, in films, in books, and all of these things that we have to listen English. So I think that this reason, like to exclude, we are getting to this point that we cannot do it anymore, because yeah, maybe if we are in the combi, and we want to speak with, I don't know, my girlfriend or my friends that knows English, well, I can switch and maybe start speaking, and yeah, probably the most part of this combi they won't understand me. No, but I think that it's like tricky, because it happened to me that I was listening to people talking in English, and it was like gossiping as well, because I can understand it. And also, there was another, like the real lexical need, because, well, not only in English and Spanish, also there is. Yesterday I learned about a word in German that that doesn't have a specific translation in Spanish or in English, you know? So I think that when we are looking for a specific word, maybe we make this switch because we have to say it in English or we have to say it in Spanish because there doesn't exist in the other language this word or this term. So I think that I like that one, because of the real lexical need. Because well, we have this part of our vocabulary that makes unique both languages.
Okay, I agree with you with your opinions, and I also I wanted to add this thing that being polite, because for example I saw a video like 2 days ago, which a Mexican girl who were to Netherlands was learning the language from there, and she tried to speak in their language in order to be more polite with the locals. And in this way I think that it's cool, it's a beautiful thing that we try to learn this other language to communicate in a more polite way to the locals of a country, of our city, of our community. So I think that that's the end of this is the end of this study group. We can conclude with these two phenomena that occurs in when we speak two or more language. In our case, we are bilingual or multilingual people, and we it's important that we know how this phenomenon occurs. Why are the reasons of this to happen? And I think that it's a very interesting there are very interesting topics, and I think that we have we have some conclusions, and we can talk more further in this topic. We can say, oh, this happens because of this, and this happens because of this. And I think that's something really important for us as future English teachers. So that's the end of this meeting. So thank you for being here. See you later.